So we would greet all of you once again and express, as we frequently do, our appreciation for the opportunity to interact with you this evening because of the benefit that it brings all of us, ourselves included. So we thought that we'd begin today by just reminding you of something that you've heard many, many times. And this is of your endless nature, how vast you actually are, your endless ability, your endless knowledge, your endless wisdom. We realize, of course, that within your experience here, even for those of you who explore, the concept of feeling like the person whose name you carry becomes quite familiar for you. So your shift began about 125 years ago now. And as a civilization, you love symbolism. You love to mark time in particular ways. And so in your latest millennium, as you move through your first quarter century into the next one, you will notice that there will be, in a time of acceleration, more acceleration for you. And this, by and large, is what we'd like to discuss with all of you tonight. Now, before we do, we would like to add perhaps what you might call a disclaimer, but really something that is a very deep truth. And that is this: you are surrounded by consciousness continually. All of that consciousness is there to support you. There is no aspect of that consciousness that ever judges you in any way, shape, or form. We say this because in your shift, as you move into this century, it accelerates for you. And it accelerates quicker for you all the time. Now, because of your beliefs and your ideas of linear time and history, and the way that things in the past can affect you now, there are many challenges that you have in your life yet, that you are yet moving through. In that, as your shift accelerates, that more expansive you, whatever name you would like to apply to it, will ask of you some things. Paramount of those things is for you to be true to yourself, for you to make the choices in your life that you actually feel like making. You are going to find that if you're making choices that are other than that, that's where your challenges are going to arise. And if you've been making choices like that, that is where your challenges have come from. Now again, nothing wrong with those challenges. All of you have got histories that you're associated with. All of you have had experiences that you've been associated with, that you're working through, that you're leaving behind. But this is that movement to leave them behind, to be transparent with yourself about what it is you actually want in your life, what direction you actually want to take in your life. Now, of course, all of you are explorers, and all of you have taken steps to move in those directions. As you have, I know that all of you, in various degrees of consistency, are becoming more than just intellectually aware that it is you that is creating your experience of your reality. You are having experiences where you can feel into the truth of that statement, that it is you that's creating your experience of your reality. As you do that, as you have those experiences, regardless of how brief they are, they buoy you. They give you support. They add inspiration to your movement. We're going to suggest that you embrace those moments. Move those moments to the forefront of your consciousness. Pay attention to those times when you can recognize the challenge as it comes up within you, and then pay attention to your outer environment and watch it shift and move. Try to draw the similarities, the connections between your inner states and what you see reflected around you as much as you possibly can. As you move deeper into your shift, you're going to ask a little bit more of yourself as the weeks and the months go by. Your challenges will show up in a variety of ways. They'll show up in ways that will catch your attention. They may show up in your body. They may show up in your relationships. They may show up in things you have to fix around your house. They may show up in things you have to fix in your automobile. It can be a whole variety of things. Things that will catch your attention. Things that will help you see that you're not allowing the energy to flow through you with the ease that it can. So if you're stopping it from flowing within you, it needs to show up someplace, and it will show up someplace, and it'll show up so that it catches your attention. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to tap you on the shoulder and go, where are you holding yourself back? Where are you restricting yourself? Where are you not allowing you to be you? Now, this doesn't mean that, and it can be difficult sometimes, not to be in situations that can be a little challenging and not to feel like you need to push your energy. But we're going to suggest to you that if you can relax with your energy, attempt to make the choices you want to make without pushing, you will see better results with that. But the way that individuals respond to you is about your energy. Without you having doubts about yourself, about you judging yourself, without any kind of inhibition that you have to your energy, you would not get challenging situations back from other individuals. Remember, you're the one that creates your experience of reality, which means that if you have individuals coming to you and bringing you challenges, if you have situations, if you have certain circumstances that are doing that, you're creating that for yourself. You're drawing those individuals to yourself for your reasons. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're challenged with the same thing that the person that is in front of you is challenged by. It may not be that. The exercise is to figure out why they're there, why they're bringing you the challenge. In what way are you not quite expressing yourself in an authentic way for you? Not for other individuals, but for you. Because that's the key. Be authentic to yourself. There's another individual that uses a metaphor of a large jigsaw puzzle and everybody being a piece in that jigsaw puzzle and everybody having its own shape. And when you're true to your own shape, the puzzle comes together. And this is in fact what you're all striving for now, is that. To do that, you need to be authentic with yourself. You need to be true to yourself. You need to make the choices that feel right for you. Now, sometimes in that, you may find that there are individuals in your life that respond in ways that are a little upsetting for themselves and sometimes a little bit for you. But if you're in a situation whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whatever it might happen to be, and you know that this particular situation does not feel like the situation where you want to be, begin to make movements to do something different in your life. Open some doorways someplace for yourself. That more encompassing you is literally in every moment paying attention to what's going on with you in every moment. If you make a shift like that, that aspect of you is aware of it and will begin to send opportunities to you. If you're not already practiced in this already, learn to pay attention to your intuition, to your impressions, to your impulses, to your inspirations, to your dreams, to the message that you get around you, that your five senses bring you, to all of those things that you know come from that deeper part of you to help you to understand a course that you could take. Make that part of you, if you can, your best friend. That part of you will never steer you wrong. That doesn't mean that in the moment you may be confused about why it is you're doing something that you're doing. It may take a few steps to finally end up in a place that you understand why you took that little journey or maybe that longer journey. But learn to trust yourself implicitly. Learn to listen to your intuition. Now, of course, you need to use the rational, logical, other aspects of yourself as you make choices also. It's a collaboration, but you've used the other not so much, well, still, even though you explore, sometimes you will find yourself doing that, using the intellectual, rational, logical aspects of yourselves, maybe a little bit more than might be beneficial for you. Remember, that inner you is like a you that stands on a mountaintop and looks out over a valley. It sees everything that's going on. It sees all the twists and turns that are ahead of you. It sees all the things that may occur to you. It sees all the nice things, all the challenging things, and it will lead you if you're listening. Now, of course, you have an exploration here that you chose to come into this physical dimension to explore. So there is a theme that you would like to become more familiar with. At the same time, those themes are usually very broad, and you can explore those themes in many, many, many ways. If you can, be as accepting as you possibly can to the way that you do things, even when you're stuck in things. And then, what may be a more challenging part, but will serve you in a very profound way, be accepting of other people's choices as well. Because from your position, unless you are quite aware of those deeper parts of yourselves and how you connect with everybody, you probably will not know how all the actions that individuals are taking play together with all the things that we're doing. And so if you can, pay attention mostly to the things that you do and why you're doing those things. And attempt to accept even those choices that you would never make as choices that are valid for those individuals to make. Doesn't mean that you have to like their choices. That's something completely different. A choice being valid and you liking the choice are not necessarily the same thing. You not liking a choice means it's not a choice that you would make, which is totally valid for you. But you accept that in their world, it's their choice to make. This is the freedom of consciousness. All of you, we will suggest, have other expressions of yourself who are what you would call from this perspective unsavory individuals. All of you do that because you explore this reality, this physical dimension in many, many, many ways. And in a way, you are quite aware, of course, that it is, we'll just use this term in the moment, a game, because nobody actually gets hurt as you explore this. You explore it to have the experience of exploring it. And it adds to not only that relatively more immediate you, but to that endless you that others have called all that is, or things similar. So, transparency with yourself, honesty with yourself, the holding in the forefront of your mind the types of choices that feel right for you to make in the moment, for the reasons that they'll feel right for you to make them. These are the things that we would like you to focus on for the next week, anyway, if you can. And so, with that, we will put ourselves on pause and we will allow for any questions, any kind of expansions, anything that you would like.
Zoe?
Thank you. Hi. Hi again. Thank you. Hi to say too.
Hello.
That was really, 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 really lovely and just so in tune with everything I'm working on right now. So I'm just so grateful. So much knowledge and practical advice. I really appreciate it. Um, I thought it was synchronous that Chuck mentioned dragon energy because my question is about dragon kind of dragon beings and pterodactyl beings, but it's more about me as well, catching myself in a moment, just like you were talking about. I heard about these beings that are working in an underground lab, and they're very different from humans. They're pterodactyl like or dragon like, and I thought about these beings being down there and working, and apparently they're working on a really important historical project. And I thought about them and I thought about their, their bodies and how they're different and being down there in this lab. It sounded very uncomfortable. And I felt sad for them and I felt pity. And then I caught myself and I was like, how dare I feel pity for these beings that I have no idea what they're thinking. They could be super happy. It could be like a holiday for them on Earth. They could be having a great time. We're living our, we're into meeting other aliens. We're doing that really important historical project. So so how dare I? So it really it helped me realize that I put negative energy out there into the world, and it got me thinking about all the people that are feeling pity for other people. And I wanted to ask you to talk maybe a little bit about compassion versus pity.
As many of you are aware, the idea of pity comes from the awareness, the understanding, the belief, the concept that your reality happens to you. And so, if your reality happens to you, then there are victims within your reality. And if that is true, then of course, pity is something that is applied to those individuals because there's the idea that those individuals have no input, perhaps we'll say, in the experiences that they're having. Now, part of this too is to, as you explore the deeper parts of yourself in an increasing way, and as you become increasingly familiar with that part of you, what naturally follows that is you will become increasingly aware that what you've done here is a choice. You'll be increasingly aware of the power you have to make those choices. Now, for many, many years in linear terms on your planet, this hasn't been the situation for individuals. You haven't felt like that was true for you. In fact, the idea was very different. And of course, you set this up for yourself like that so you could have that experience. It's actually a very powerful thing for you to be able to do. For a being that is able to create anything it wants to at any point in time and always has been like that, to have an experience that it can't do that. It's a very powerful thing for you to be able to do for yourself. So, pity, of course, tells somebody, reinforces the idea that the individual may already have, that in fact they have no ability. So, what you do if you supply that energy towards an individual is you reinforce their lack of belief in themselves. Compassion, we would suggest, if it is what we may call in this moment true compassion, is an awareness of their ability, an awareness that they have the ability to see their challenges, their difficulties, to understand those things, and to move beyond them. Sometimes with the help of other individuals, sometimes it doesn't take a lot of help, but to understand the power that they have will suggest in this moment is really true compassion. And to approach them in that way, not that you can't aid them, but that in that, the energy is that they have the ability in this moment to make choices, to change things for themselves. We would suggest that that is more an expression of true compassion. So that's how we would answer you in that.
That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. I can start doing that straight away. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bill?
Okay. For over 2 decades, on and off, when I wasn't busy doing something else, I've been inspired by two sentences in the book Seth Speaks, found in a session 586. This question relates to that. And the question is simple. Do you have any methods, techniques, practices, exercises, anything simple to enable intimate contact with one's entity? I've tried all sorts of things over the years. I'm still working on it, playing with it. I'm just open to additional suggestions if anyone has anything. The other, I should say that that passage suggests that there will be somebody, even though Seth doesn't believe in predictions, yet he made a prediction and he qualified it in that section. There will be somebody arriving in our reality who will offer methods for attaining intimate contact with entity. The thing is, he's not here yet, or if he is, he's too young to share any of this, and I don't expect to be alive when that happens. So maybe the next time around, I don't know. But that's my question. Do you know of any specific methods or techniques for attaining intimate contact with entity?
So the question that we would ask of you prior to our answering is, for you, what do you consider to be intimate contact?
Well, I have had interaction with my entity in dreams. That was pretty intimate. But in the dream, he was symbolized as a rather large, grandfatherly, sort of Germanic, sort of very serious type of person. But there was interaction. And I've also had, of all the people I've known over the years, and there have been many who have done some kind of channeling, I've only known two who can convey information from my own entity to myself. Only two in many years. And one who's dead now, I was much more familiar with. I knew her better than the other because I interacted with her a number of times. And the first time she ever did this, came as a complete surprise, totally unexpected, out of the blue. And the first thing that was conveyed was sort of some inside information that only I knew about, which validated the experience. But the other thing that I'll never forget was it suddenly felt as though a magnetic hemisphere erupted from the top of my head. It was about 3 feet in diameter, and it stayed that way for about 3 days. It's unmistakable. I've never experienced anything like that since, and that was like in 1996 on the eve of a Bastille Day picnic. So that also tended to validate the experience. Yes, this was my own entity conveying something to me. So that was an intimate experience. Have I answered your question? Those were both intimate, both types, the dream and the information coming from another through another person.
So in intimate, are you speaking in terms of a large occurrence? Is this something that has a particular quality to it that would catch your attention regardless of what else you might be doing? Are you thinking in those terms?
No, I was thinking more in terms of how we use the word intimate in terms the word intimate can refer to a companion or a friend. He or she is an intimate.
So
And
the
that
quality of
yeah,
knowing you well, the
yes.
quality of a connection that feels personal to you. Yes.
Well, absolutely. I consider the entity a larger region of self compared to uh, little
Yes.
me. So yes, this larger, in a sense, larger version of me knows me extremely well. But he knows. I would say it's he or she or it knows me better than I know it. Um, and so therefore that's the nature of the relationship, I
Well,
think.
we're going to describe some things for you because we think that it feels to us that a part of your challenge in this has been in overlooking some things that you may think perhaps are a little bit simplistic for you. So we'll begin with this. When you began your conversation with us a short time ago, perhaps the first several words that you spoke to us were words that you consciously chose. Beyond that point, the words just flowed out of your mouth. We spoke, we had a dialogue, and you did not pick those words intentionally. You did not think, I'm going to say that next, then that, then that, then that. They just flow out of your mouth. That flow comes from someplace. That flow, we will suggest, comes from you. When you are in whatever situation you're in, and you have an impulse to do something, whether you follow it or not, if you recognize you do, or if you get an impression, a little chunk of information about something, or you happen to be sitting someplace in the middle of the day and your focus on the world softens a little bit and images begin to show up. Perhaps you have a really brief daydream. All these types of things, of course, are intimate to you. They are you expressing information to you. What we're going to suggest with you is to begin to pay attention to all those small little things that happen in your life and to enjoy them. Like a child might enjoy, let's say, a new little toy that you gave them or some sort of a stuffed animal or something. It's not big, it's not fancy, but they enjoy the experience. So by enjoying the simple communications that come your way from yourself, you will create an atmosphere that aspect of you will fill with more of that and more expansive aspects of that. We'll suggest that to the degree that you can, reel back the seriousness of that endeavor and make it about fun. Make it about a joyful interaction with yourself. Make it as light as you possibly can. And enjoy all those little things that come your way. And keep that mood rolling. And as you keep that mood rolling, you will find that that larger you has more and more space to express an increasing amount of things for you. In a month's time, if you're able to do this, you will be having different experiences with that aspect of yourself. But don't approach it as homework. Don't approach it as a serious endeavor. Approach it as some type of fun, some type of a light, whimsical thing that you can do with your life. This, in fact, is the movement that that aspect of you is wanting you to fold more deeply into your life, is that type of an approach to your existence. As you do that, you will find dividends in doing that. That would be our suggestion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you again to say too, always a pleasure. And I'm going to just have if you could just give us a more direct, or me a direct answer, because we have lots of questioners and we're getting squeezed on time. Can any ET being that is associated with the Earth Collective connect with humans in the dream states? And are there any protocols or any prerequisites that need to happen for that?
Absolutely. Realize that the dream state is, in fact, your natural state. And all of you are interacting all the time in that state. So, regardless of what dimension, what experience, other aspects of consciousness, frequently your consciousness, your larger consciousness, is involving itself in, all of you are collaborating in that state. Now, some of those aspects of you retain much of that awareness as they also express themselves in their quote unquote more physicalized dimensions. You are not quite there yet. Some of you on your planet can do that, but a lot of you are not there yet. You're heading in that direction. When your shift is done, you will be fully in that direction. You will be able to move between this experience and that experience quite freely. So, yes, indeed, that does occur all the time, actually.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Miles.
Here we go. So my question has to do with the body, to say too. So I was reading Seth today, and he was explaining that the body is actually social, that the body interacts socially, not just with other people, but with everything in our environment. And I was a little surprised. I hadn't thought of it in exactly that way. And he went on to say that this was like a doorway. So he's saying that millions of times a second, we're interacting with everything around us, that our body can handle the physical reality by itself, on its own. It can, but what it can handle is our mind, the things that, because it relates to the physical reality, but it has to rely on our judgment to discern what is meaningful with our mind. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about those things, please.
Realize that being the first source of information on your planet, especially in the West, that spoke of the concepts that you are now familiar with, That particular expression of consciousness, Seth, understood your ideas, the way that you saw life very well. Expressed things, of course, to stretch your minds, but also using terms that didn't rock your boat too much. Now, in this, indeed, the body, like you, is associated with all things around you at all times. What's being expressed with this is that the body takes its cues from you. Even though the body has all information at its fingertips, as you also do. And again, the distinction was being made as these concepts were being introduced to you. But the body, because it is an aspect of consciousness, all of consciousness, certainly all of the collective that you're associated with here, has all that information at its fingertips, but it takes its direction from you. So you, in a sense, being the physically focused mind, in a sense. And so in that regard, it takes its cues from the mind. Your beliefs in those regards. So it plays a two-part role in that, especially in this time period. One of those is to supply an experience that you expect to have in this reality. Another, in this time period especially, is to be a messenger for you, to provide input to you that brings you to a place of questioning. Why is this going on with my body? And exploring. Now, one of the things you could focus on doing is to understand the connectivity that the body has. Now, of course, it's not different than you, but you can utilize the body in this way. You can focus on all those connections, and you can become then familiar with those connections through the connections that are had in that way. It is one of the ways that you can do that, and it would be a potent way if that's the choice that you made. So yes, the body is connected to everything, but the body takes its cues from you. You guide the body in your experience because it's your experience, and the consciousness that forms your body is collaborative with you and allows you to take the lead in the experience.
Oh, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Jennifer?
Yes, hello. This actually goes along with Miles' question about the body. What can be said about like a physical what might be considered by some as a disability or a chronic illness? Like I'll use myself as an example. I have a genetic condition called polycystic kidney disease. It's very painful. I live with it. I've lived with it most of my life. Throughout my life, I've been bombarded with a lot of information about I choose this, which I believe, yes, I came in with it for a reason, but I can choose my healing and things like that. And it starts to become very confusing because, yes, I could walk around and say, yes, I believe I don't have this, but it's staring me in the face, so to speak. So, what can be said about people who choose to enter with some type of physical ailment or a chronic condition, something like that?
Yes.
Even those who, receive, they get cancer or something.
Indeed. So denying your condition does nothing for moving beyond your condition. So embrace that, yes, in fact, I have this physical expression that's going on. And then really, it doesn't have to be a difficult thing. Start with look to the long-term things first. What have you been the most unhappy with for the longest period of time? And then ask yourself, can I do something with that in the moment. If you can, head in that direction. If you can't, go to the next thing that's bothered you for the next longest period of time and keep moving until you find that you can do something. We would suggest do not try to round up all of the things that you are unhappy about. You will overwhelm yourself. Choose one and then choose movements that you can make, things that are beneficial for you. Now, in this, many times, environments that we find ourselves in, associations that we find ourselves having, are not necessarily the most nurturing for us. On occasion, difficult choices need to be made as far as finding yourself in different association or finding yourself in different situations. It may take a half a year or a year of figuring out in some way, shape, or form how to alter some of those things in your existence before you can actually begin to address the concepts, the ideas, the feeling states that are involved in the things that your body's talking to you about. Get help from any place that you can get help, any way, shape, or form that you can get that help. Now, in difficult situations, the more encompassing aspect of those individuals that those difficult situations are associated with are, of course, totally aware of themselves. In dream time, what you can do is you can collaborate with that more encompassing aspect of you, with that more encompassing aspect of that individual, and then reach out to any other aspect of consciousness that can provide any kind of help that's possible, information, insight, choices that you can make that can begin to steer your life in a different direction. Because if you are not in an environment that allows you to do nurturing things for yourself, and you don't find yourself supported in nurturing yourself in that way, that may be a step, that may be a step that you will have to take to find yourself in that kind of an environment. Other than that, utilize a form of acceptance with the individuals that are in your environment that are challenging to be around. And by that, what we mean is accept that their understanding of themselves is very truncated, if you can look that word up, at this moment. Okay? They respond and they express themselves in their life from a very limited way. Don't judge it, just understand and accept that that's the individual. Allow experiences to show up in your life that you can act on, that can bring differences in your life, that can bring directions that you can move in your life that will be supportive for you. Now, these types of changes are not always easy to make. And so you may have to make difficult choices in making those types of changes. So this is not going to be a short-term process for you. It's going to be a little bit longer of a process for you. Will it work out? Yes, it will work out, but it's going to be a process. So those are the types of things that you want to do for yourself. Again, you need to embrace you. You need to embrace things that feel right for you and begin to move in that direction in whatever way that you can.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we welcome David for his first question at our session. Thank you, David, for coming in.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be able to ask this question. I'm clairaudient, so when I go to bed at night, I hear deep rumbles, and it almost sounds like there's a truck outside that's idling, or like rolling thunder. And it's just audible enough to hear. And it's been going on for like 8 or 10 years, off and on. So it'll last for a week, 2 weeks at a time, and then it'll go away for a month, and it'll come back, and it'll be there for 6 weeks, and it'll go away for 2 months, and it'll come back. And I can ask my team and my guides, and my higher self and my body deva to turn down the intensity so I don't hear it, or it's not aware in my consciousness. And that happens almost instantly. They're able to turn it down. And it always comes from the south. It doesn't come from the north, east, or west. And there is a friend of mine who lives in the area that hears it too. And she's been able to tell me that it's a benevolent energy coming into the planet from benevolence, benevolent beings, as there is a lot of energy coming in at this time. So I wanted to know if you can expand on this with any additional information as to its origin and its meaning, and why I continue to experience it. That's basically my question.
So have you explored it at all? Have you taken the opportunity to ask those aspects of yourself to expand on the energy that it is that you are experiencing at those times? Have you listened for those types of impressions or intuitions or information, dreams in that way?
I have mostly considered it as a benevolent energy, and I haven't really questioned it from a dream aspect. It's more of a curiosity because I can hear it, and sometimes during the day I can go outside and I can hear it during the day. Just this low, very low rumble, and I think it's happening to me for a reason. It's coming to me for some reason. I'm experiencing this.
Yes, you are, and just like channeled information, or just like tarot, or just like ruins, or just like dowsing, or many, many, many things, you will utilize sometimes similar expressions to catch the attention of one or more individuals. The individual that hears this sound also, you have a connection with within, just because we've spoken in these terms earlier, dream time in that realm. What you're doing is you're attempting to catch your own attention. That larger you is attempting to catch your attention. It's attempting to get you to explore in those ways, in less encumbering ways. In other words, to allow information to show up to you in ways that sometimes is unexpected, and to allow that information in your life just for the sake of the interaction and not for the sake of what it needs to bring you in that moment. Similar to the earlier individual, frequently we can get caught up in the concepts that the interactions that we have with ourselves need to provide, they need to bring us something of substance. When in fact, many times those interactions are purely for the experience of the interaction. So the energy that you're feeling in that rumbling is a little bit of an idea of the strength and the power of this expression of yourself. And the idea is to relax into the energy, to just allow an open connection to the energy, and then to see how it transforms as you do that. Benevolent, yes, in that it's you, and you are always benevolent with yourself. The concept of it being from the South appears to have a connection to another aspect of you. You would call it perhaps an incarnational you that utilizes directions in a powerful way in your explorations of the spiritual interactions that you have. And so one of the things that you can do is in dream time, if you would want, or in meditation, is you can have the intent to connect with an individual that, in your terms, would explore things in somewhat of a shamanistic way and will be able to bring you some information about what energy flowing out of the self has in significance for you. But more than anything, it's really more just a connection with you to open up to. It's just a recognition of your own energy. And to allow that connection to build for you, to allow that connection to open other channels for you, to allow that connection to work in your life, to provide for you little bits of information on occasion, little nudges and directions on occasion. To use it as an opportunity to become familiar with what it is those aspects of you feel like, the energy that's there in yourself, so that when information shows up you on a daily basis, you've learned to recognize that energy because you've explored your own energy. And that way you feel a little bit more comfortable about taking the guidance that you get from those deeper parts of yourselves, because you've learned to recognize the energy that's there. So in part, it's that for you as well. It's an invitation to become increasingly familiar with those energies that surround you, which is, of course, you.
Thank you very much for that information.
You're welcome.
And thanks for asking. Yvonne?
Hi, Chuck and all. I'd just like to, I'm going to have two questions I'm going to ask you. Now, I could go on and on, obviously, but I'm going to try to keep this short. I would like to say that I've known Bill for what, Bill, 30 years, 35 years, something like that. And we've been in a couple groups together and discussed things a lot. Now, in Seth talks about that you always create. And Eve talks about that too. You can't not create. You are a creator. And that's the gift that's given when people say, oh, you're made in the image of God. What that means is you're a creator. Right. So he talks about being able to create not just things, like not just to say, oh, I imagined a television set and then you created one, but that you create other people, you create other energies, you create new things all the time. Uh, Bill once told me a story about seeing a silver entity going, like walking through the woods. He didn't know what it was. And my initial impression was you created that entity, you created it and you sent it out from you. And I just don't see what's more intimate than that. I mean, that to my mind, that is a truly intimate experience. So my first question is kind of your thoughts on that, on creating other entities, creating other things besides just the strict material things that you create every day. So if you could talk about that for a minute.
So we like your expression of what could be more intimate than creating your environment, because of course that is what you're doing. Many times individuals in this exploration, and it's a natural thing, of course, they become fascinated with attempting to create things, forgetting that in fact that's what you're doing in each moment. You are creating the entirety of your environment in each moment. It is in fact a very intimate thing to do because it is you that you're experiencing. So yes, of course, if you have in these types of experiences other aspects of consciousness that are interactive with that larger aspect of you, perhaps we'll call it in this moment, you can in fact express those symbolically within your experience. The so individual is one of those. So yes, of course, the body, the appearance, whatever interaction was had, is something that is created in the moment as you do that. But that particular aspect of consciousness, of course, has its own unique awareness. So it's as if there are all these interactions going on behind the scenes, perhaps we'll say, within energy, within consciousness. And all of you are tapped into that. And then you express that around you in ways that make sense to you, that help you, that bring you situations that provide you with opportunities to have the experiences that you want to have here and to leave behind some of the inhibiting things that perhaps you've surrounded yourself with on occasion. Because you're the one that gets to filter the energies that you're surrounded with as you express those around you as your environment.
And Yvonne, please save your second question for ancestor grandmothers et al. Or Kashima. We need to be cognizant of the time, if you don't mind.
Well, okay, I guess it kind of relates to what Chuck was just saying, but sure.
If you could go ahead.
Well, okay, the question was just that there are a lot of people who have come to me and who have said, I want a certain thing. I'm trying to create a certain thing. I've meditated, I've done this, I've done that, I've done all these things, and none of it has worked, right? And what my feeling is, and I'm wondering about Chuck's feeling on this, is that you never create anything alone. And that has to be taken into consideration. You're creating it with other selves, of other aspects of yourself, whatever. And so that may be why, like you're sending messages back and forth. And that may be why what you think you should have already created, you haven't, because you're not doing it alone.
A part of the issue with individuals in this regard also is there's a need to prove. There's a need to prove that they can create. Instead of just relaxing into the concept that, as you mentioned earlier, you're creating all the time. And then to allow those things to show up in your reality spontaneously, to see those things occur. A simple explanation. You're an individual who lives alone in your home. You come home for lunch every day. You have a little bowl next to your staircase that you throw your car keys in as you come home. You come home, you do that, you make your lunch, you go back to leave, your keys are not in the bowl. You live alone, you do not have a pet. You begin to look around thinking you may have dropped your keys someplace else. Perhaps I put them in the bathroom, perhaps I put them on the kitchen table, whatever. You're not finding them. You go to walk upstairs, and there they are in the bowl. Who created that? You created that. There are many things that happen like that in people's days all the time. Experiences that you're creating for yourself. So there are many things that you can focus on that help you to understand that, yes, in fact, you're creating your reality. But if you allow the deeper you to take the lead in that and to provide those situations for you when they will have an impact for you in the way that it knows will, in a way, circumvent the need you have to create it in a particular way. Those are the ways that it will do it for you. And then if you pay attention to those, perhaps you can relax into the concept that it's you creating your reality. And then what will happen is that the collaboration between you and that more encompassing you will allow more and more and more of that stuff to happen. And then you will learn to direct that a little bit more. But the need to prove is a very inhibitory thing.
Yep. Thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
And thank you to Setu. We appreciate your time and your energy and your wisdom.
Oh, and he's just had a blast hanging out with you guys.
And it's always strange to see channelers who channel with their eyes open because it's so rare. But we're going to take a 3 or a 4 minute break. So do what you got to do, and we'll be back with Arla and the wonderful ancestor grandmothers et al. And the ancient Sasquatch energy, Kashima, in just a little bit. Thank you.